this concept that I came up with laying in bed one night. I have all these close friends who have these wonderful stories that can help change the world, life experiences that can help other people believe in themselves, hold tight to their dreams and make their dreams reality. On Phil&Friends, we talk about God, we talk about love, relationships. I have celebrity friends, I have non-celebrity friends. I have church members, family members. But when you watch and listen to Phil&Friends, you will learn and you will laugh. It's a community of friends helping to build each other up. So tune in to Phil&Friends every Sunday on WHCR 90.3 FM, or you can catch me on YouTube at Phil&Friends Radio. All right, I'll see you there. WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem. What's up, everybody? It's me, Phil, and I'm back here live on air with you, my friends. I've got a great buddy of mine. This is my homeboy. We talk all the time, and I wanted him to come on the show to have a conversation with me on air. We're going to get into everything. We're going to get into black engineering. We're going to get into his work with the NBA, and we're going to talk about aliens and things of that nature, conspiracy theories. But don't let him fool you. He's Phil number 2. So when he comes on air, don't let him say he's Phil number 1 because he's not. So without further ado, we're going to bring my boy in, Phil Davis, to the room. What's up, Phil number 2?
Greetings, Philip number 2. I'm the true Philip number 1. He already knows this. We've had this discussion a plethora of times. I was born first, conceived first. I was achieving first. So I will always be Philip number 1. What's up, my brother? How are you?
I'm doing well, Phil number 2. It's so good to see you, man. That's been a running joke forever. Every time we see each other, it's Phil number 1, Phil number 2. And then we got other homeboys with name Phil 2, and they always come in line. So it's good to see you, man.
Good to see you also. The Philip Coalition is coming soon, everyone.
Yes, it is. Listen, it's so funny you started the show with greetings. That's at the end of the show. We're going to talk about that. Greetings, Earthlings. Listen, I will go ahead and tell the people who you are.
Well, pretty much, of course, my name is Philip Davis. I am from East Point, Georgia, which is a city in the greater metropolitan area of Atlanta, Georgia. East Point is pretty much known for your favorite rap group, Outkast, one of your favorite singer groups, Escape, one of your favorite comedians / actors, Kenan Thompson. And those individuals actually all went to my high school, which is Tri-Cities High School. It's a performing arts high school, which has created a plethora of individuals that have done some amazing things in academics, medicine, engineering, and entertainment, of course.
I didn't know you're East Point. Is Camp Creek East Point, that area?
Camp Creek is partially East Point.
Yeah, because I think I lived in the city of East Point when I lived off Camp Creek.
Right, and at one point it's unincorporated. It was unincorporated too. So.
Okay, well that's interesting to know. I didn't know Escape was from there. Okay, cool. Well, listen, you have been an amazing person. Phil and I went to Clark Atlanta with each other. I'm an alpha, and another reason why he's number 2 is he's a Kappa. That's second to alpha. That's a whole other conversation.
But we all black, everybody. We all black.
We are, but I'm an alpha who's black. That's more important. Let's talk. I want to go into your family background and your upbringing in East Point. What was that like growing up? Because, you have this strong sense of family. You have a strong sense of network, empowerment, and empowering the black community. One of the things that we always talk about is the importance of empowering each other. What was that upbringing like for you in East Point?
Growing up in East Point was pretty amazing. It was an abundance of African Americans, as well as Asians, as well as Hispanics that were actually really productive in the communities. They were business owners. They were working for Fortune 500 companies. Everything we saw, pretty much the majority in East Point, as well as College Park, which is a neighboring city, as well as Hateville, as well as even South Atlanta, Riverdale, all of those areas, Adamsville, you saw a plethora of black people that were achieving in phenomenal areas. And of course, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, which was pretty much the height of the entertainment industry and everything. So I saw pretty much the matriculation and the progression of the city of Atlanta, even before the Olympics, pre-Maynard Jackson, a lot of individuals moving here. And I just saw a matriculation of a city while I was growing up. And it was pretty powerful to watch. So much so that kind of shielded me from the rest of America. To be honest with you, I really didn't even know racism existed until I graduated from an HBCU.
So I want to stop you there. I grew up in Oak Cliff in Dallas, which is a black part of Dallas. And when I grew up, I never experienced I had maybe 3 white teachers who probably lived in Oak Cliff a long time ago. But I've never experienced that racism because it was black. I went to a black elementary school, middle school, high school, and I went to a black college. So black for us was a powerful thing because we only knew black greatness, right? And it was nothing wrong with that.
Same here.
Yeah.
And then when I finally did experience racism, once I got into construction and corporate American engineering,
you got corporate America, right?
It completely changed my mindset. It completely changed my outlook on life, and it allowed me to grow up really, really fast.
How did it change your experience with life? This is a whole nother conversation. Let's jump into that. How did it change who you were as a person?
It allowed me to see that all because you work hard, all because you're very talented, all because you're intellectually astute, doesn't mean you'll actually achieve in whatever area you're trying to accomplish. And the reason being is because it's powers that be that are there literally to control, to ostracize, and pretty much oppress certain individuals from getting into certain positions of power.
You know, when we talk about black excellence, that's all we knew. We only knew black doctors, black teachers, black attorneys. What's important? What is the importance of showing young black people the power of black excellence?
Black excellence is pretty powerful because it's representation. And when you see somebody that looks like you representing the community, it makes you want to strive to do more. So much so, growing up in that part of Atlanta, the person who was my dentist was actually my diving coach simultaneously.
Wow.
So not only was I going to him to make sure my teeth were clean and my teeth were straight, he was showing me a different sport that most black people in inner cities are not even accustomed to, because most black people don't even know how to swim, which was diving. And that completely changed my outlook on the world and some of my friends who actually got diving scholarships to college.
Which is, so black people do know how to swim.
Black people do know how to swim.
We do. I want to go into you as an HBCU. You mentioned going to an HBCU. I guess it was like no other, because Atlanta is like the capital for HBCUs, right? It's like the mecca for HBCU. Why did you choose an HBCU? And then we want to go into your career.
That's actually a pretty great question. I'll be honest with you. My first choice was not an HBCU. Mm-hmm. My first choice was Georgia Institute of Technology because I wanted to go into the field of engineering because I was in STEM programs such as SEGME in middle school and in high school. But the issue is I didn't get in. And it's kind of weird because graduated from high school, I had a 3.8 GPA. Wow. But on the 1600 scale of SATs back then, I only got a 1050. And so because of that, I didn't get in. But the irony of that too is my mother actually worked at Georgia Institute of Technology, and I still didn't get in. But
I couldn't let you in. Didn't go though.
Could have definitely let me in somehow, but I mean, it just wasn't working during that time.
You know, everything happens for a reason too. So that's a whole nother conversation.
Definitely happened for a reason. But the amazing thing too is pretty much everybody in my family went to an HBCU. Mm-hmm. I have several uncles, my parents, my sister. Everybody went to Albany State. Yeah. They went to Savannah State. They went to Benedict College. They went to various areas in the South for HBCUs. So my mom was like, hey, I know you don't really want to go to any of the other schools because I've been going to those other schools my whole life for homecomings because my whole family were alumni of those institutions. Right. So she was like, do you want to go to Clark Atlanta University? And I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. I think I could go there. Mind you, too, Morehouse is right across the street from Clark Atlanta University. And when I was in middle and high school, I used to go to sports camps and different activities at Morehouse. So I didn't want to go to Morehouse either because I had already had such an amazing experience at Morehouse. As an adolescent, I wanted to go somewhere different. So she was like, you should go to Clark Atlanta University. Found out they had an engineering program at the time where you could either do dual degree or get a degree from the institution. So I was like, let's do it. Let's go there.
You got the dual degree engineering, right? Is that what you got?
No, I actually went straight through at that time. So at that time,
before the engineering,
I was going on at the school, but I definitely went and just got my degree straight through for civil engineering, bachelor's of science.
You know, you're one of the smartest people I know. You might be one of the richest people I know. But you are engineer. I mean, those kids. I always talk to you about this. That whole the medical people. And so it was two sides to Clark. You had the people that were going to med school, engineers. You had the entertainment people like myself. And I was like, I ain't trying to take all those courses that y'all took. I'm trying to get up out of here. So what is the importance of Black engineering? Because I remember at the time at Clark, they were trying to they did take the engineering program away.
Right.
What is the importance of having Black engineers in our society?
Most people don't really see the significance of engineering because they don't see it on a regular basis directly, and nobody's explaining it to them. But if they look abroad, they'll see that engineering affects their daily life, whether it's the plumbing that you use in the piping in your house, whether it's the sewer system that you're tying into, whether it's the storm drainage that the water on your road is running to a wastewater treatment plant or a water treatment plant that's supplying the water for your house. Engineers matter for two reasons. One, a lot of the land development that goes into city planning is built off of engineering. So a lot of times you see in major cities, you see a large population of Black individuals that live on the southern portions of the cities. Why is that? Because water flows down. So you're getting earth water. Earth water always flows down. So you're getting most of the cleanliness of water is always going to be on the northern side of a city. So even though we're treating water on the southern portions of the city, it's still not going to be as cleanly as the pollutants that we're trying to remove from the northern side of the city.
So that's part of our conspiracy theory conversation. So is that why the white people putting Black people on the south side in the beginning of?
Well, I mean, that's not even conspiracy theory. Just look at.
Yeah,
that's the truth. Just bring up a map and look at where different people live, and then look at where your reservoirs are. Look at where your rivers are in different cities. Look at where, if you're on a coastal city, look at how people are positioned in certain areas closer to where the discharge point is for water and how it's flowing. And you'll see that it's always people of color. It's always Hispanic people. It's always Black and brown people that are living in those areas. And that was by design in the 1940s and the 1950s when they first started doing these treatment plants.
So what do we do? I'm sure somebody's asking. So what do we do to counteract? How do we fight that? Saying we need the cleaner water, we need cleaner. What do we need to do in our communities to?
We need to make sure we know where all of our dollars going. So a lot of times they have public hearings at these cities all the time. The issue with most people, and this is not just people of color, this is everybody. People think after they vote, that's it. No, you have to be in the community. You have to be at those hearings because decisions are getting made on your behalf, and you're not there to oppose or boost or champion what you feel like is going to be the best for all people in those areas. Because I'm not just looking at how this affects Black people. I'm looking at how it affects everybody. Because even now, where I live in the city of downtown Atlanta, I mean, it's being gentrified. And where I live, people still don't understand. It's definitely being gentrified, just like every major city in the United States right now. And people don't realize how a lot of the like I talked about before, like these engineering efforts, they affect them and where their money goes. They really need to question their politicians, question their councilmen, and see where that money actually goes.
So as a civil engineer, that's what you are, correct?
Correct.
When you're at your office, what is it like for you? Are you like one of the only Black civil engineers in this engineering world? I mean, I know there are Black engineers in this engineering world. Are there a lot of you all? Is it a small amount of number? And how do we get people to say, hey, we need to start focusing our young people on becoming engineers in our society?
That's a pretty great question. I actually work for an environmental engineering company, and we're based out of Walnut Creek, California. So our company is pretty progressive with inclusion, but even with that, we still only have 7% Black people in the entire company. And that's 7% Black people across the entire United States.
That ain't nothing.
With a company of 2,000 plus people.
Okay.
And the company, what I realized, especially with my discipline of civil engineering, over my 16-year experience in engineering, I probably only worked with maybe about 2 to 3 other civil engineers that were actually Black. In the conglomerate as a whole, more Black engineers typically go into the mechanical field as well as the electrical fields. Most people don't even look at
engineers.
Right. And most people don't even know what civil engineers. What is civil engineering? Civil engineering is pretty much the design and the maintenance of the infrastructure of our world. Right. So we're looking at the layout of the cities. We're looking at the layout of commercial buildings, industrial parks. We're looking at the infrastructure. We're looking at storm design. We're looking at sewer lines. We're looking at all these different type of things that go into the infrastructure of city bridges, all of those different things. So
it's a very important field, and it's so funny. Phil and I are very Phil makes you think. Our conversations are just like we talking right now. We talk about everything. You be like, what y'all talking about? Everything, but it's important. Let's go back to STEM. You took STEM when you were in middle school. You said I don't even remember STEM as a middle school student in Texas. But I know when I was a teacher, it's big now. Let's get these black kids in STEM. What's the importance of teaching parents to put their children in STEM programs?
STEM programs are so powerful. They're so progressive. And I'll be honest, when I was doing the STEM program back then, I didn't realize how much of an impact it would have on my career or my life trajectory even now. When I was in middle school, we were in a program called SEGME. SEGME stands for Science, Engineering, Communications, Math, and English. And then that program was instituted in our middle school from representatives of Georgia Institute of Technology. So with that, we were learning, no joke, I was learning how to build robots and learning how to build circuit boards in 8th grade. And we were literally going to camps for 2 and 3 weeks at Georgia Tech and learning these different type of things.
And let me pause right there. I was a part of NSBE. I forgot about the National
Society of Black Engineers.
I did, and we built robots. So I just thought about that in high school. So we used to go to conferences. So yeah, go ahead, finish what you saying.
I did not know you were part of NSBE. That's pretty dope.
Myself, we used to go on these trips, and I think Houston and different places, or Texas A&M, and we used to build the robots. Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, and so that's a good segue. So that segue from those STEM programs actually led me into the engineering program at Clark, and we had programs like NSBE, and NSBE allowed us to have conferences for not only high school students, but for college students and people in the profession. So we literally got to see people like us, Black, Hispanic people, Indian people from all over the country in NSBE working for major corporations. So a lot of people when we were going on these different conferences, they were able to get internships. We were able to get job offers through the NSBE program. And even now to this day, NSBE still is pretty proactive, productive in the different communities, doing scholarship drives, doing internships, and just a network of individuals that are learning from each other how to really just navigate through the corporate environment. One thing school taught us, it taught us the fundamental sciences, it taught us the math, but it didn't teach you how to navigate through corporate America.
It didn't teach you how to navigate with white folk. Let's just be very clear about
that. And I will say, I mean,
and we're not being racist, we're just telling the truth. It is what it is. We're Black men, and it's a different world. Listen, I had a company when I was in California. I'll never forget Admiral Green. You remember Admiral, right? Admiral Green.
I remember Admiral. Admiral was my roommate in college.
Oh yeah, so good. He got me a job when I first moved to California. But Admiral was the only. We were buyers for a different company, a major corporation, and Admiral was like the only Black guy, and he brought me on, and I was the other only Black guy. Now he's very mild mannered. I'm like, yo, Black power, this and that. I had never experienced so much racism in my life, where they were saying, Phil, don't wear shorts with. We used to praise cars. So they would say, don't wear things because people might think you're still in loose change and CDs and we don't have any rap music for you today. We got to listen to country music. I mean, stuff. I'm like, what in the world? This is what we had to experience. We never experienced that going to Clark because we didn't. Black. It was
we didn't at all. Even so much. You made a really good point about how we look too. One of the interesting thing is when I first got hired and went into construction in corporate America, I had, of course, a long, slick back ponytail all the way.
You always had long hair. Yeah.
Everybody used to call me, the Black Jesus, Samson, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But it was interesting because a lot of people told me to cut my hair. My own people were telling me to cut my hair to progress more in corporate America. And I was like, no, if I cut my hair, I want to do it on my own accord, which I did 6 years after working in the industry. And I felt good about when I did it. And then the pandemic hit, and I decided to grow my hair back.
I started growing my hair. Yeah.
And then the interesting thing too is in my company, we had a Black History program in 2021 at the beginning of the pandemic, and I gave a presentation on talking about the inclusion of hair and the inclusion of all because a person's hair looks a certain way, they shouldn't be profiled to an extent that they're not intellectually astounded enough to do their job or fulfill their position, or just be treated as a simple human being. At this
what does your hair have to do with anything anyway? Because I wear cornrows sometimes, and people are like, and then when I go to work, because I work from home, and they'll look me up in the system and like, oh, well, you're Mr. Anderson. Yeah, I was somebody different, and then you look me up. Now I'm a whole different person. What does aesthetics have to do with who we are, and how can we get people to say, hey, I am not my hair, so to speak, or I am not what you look? And
I will say the cool thing about the pandemic, I think it allowed a lot of us to sit down and have an introspective moment with who we are and how we want to look and how we want to be portrayed.
Correct.
And I truly believe the powers that be just had to accept that. So much so that now I'm seeing even my Anglo-Saxon counterparts, they're wearing blue hair. They're wearing long hippie type hair down their back. The men have long beards too. And I think it's dope. I think it's dope that if a person wants to be clean cut one day, cool. If a person wants to dress like this one day, cool. As long as it's not being insensitive or oppressive to another individual or another.
And as long as you don't stink, I don't care. If you ain't stinking up the office, we don't care what you look like. And if you're doing your work, who cares, right?
That's funny. That is hilarious.
Listen, I want to switch conversations because this is a great conversation, Phil. I want to talk about being a Black father. You have a wonderful family. What is the importance of the Black man in the home? What is
I think a man in the home, period, is a powerful thing, and a woman in the home, period, is a powerful thing. I think the balance of the masculine and feminine energy can cultivate a positive and progressive environment for kids if we allow it. And myself, I grew up with having a mother and a father in my house, and it was not the perfect experience by far, but my dad taught me how to be a man. And me having a son, myself having a son and a daughter, I'm teaching my son how to be a man. My wife is teaching my daughter how to be a young lady that's going to grow into a young woman. Right. And it's just fundamentals, whether it's doing yard work, me doing roof gutter cleaning when I was 14 and 15 years old. Just little stuff like that allowed me to be like, okay, I can pretty much do anything I put my mind to, as long as I have intent. My intent is in direct alignment with whatever it is I'm trying to accomplish.
Absolutely. Well, Phil is also teaching the kids how to, man, they like a whole athletic family. I've never seen anything like this before in my life. I need to come over there and work out with y'all is what I need to do.
Let me know. We train adults also.
You're right. Let's jump into, I've been passed out working out with you. Let's go into, so you have a career with the NBA, man. Phil, he's with the NBA. He's doing flips and I wish I would have had the video so I could show people, but tell us how to reach you. Number one, let's tell that now, how they can find you on Instagram.
Definitely. So I have a 501c3 where I'm teaching tumbling to kids as well as adults, and it's called Hybrid Humans. INC. You can find me on Instagram or Facebook. We also have an acrobatic slam dunking group called Air Elite Dunkers, which you can find that on Instagram or Facebook also. And let me take you back before the NBA even started, man. While I was in middle school doing the STEM programs and the SEGME programs at Georgia Tech and even at my middle school, I was actually performing for NBA games in middle school and high school. And that was with a gymnastics program called Kids Gym USA. So it's kind of funny how that operated. We were just kids flipping for a nonprofit, going to Disney World and flipping at Disney World, performing for them.
I mean, you can flip too. You're like an Olympic style flipper. You be flipping it.
Right. So it was amazing because I never saw anything monetarily happening from flipping.
Right.
And lo and behold, my freshman year of college, a circus came to Atlanta at Six Flags, and they were performing the Gotham City Circus, which was the Batman circus or whatever, and they needed some acrobats. So after my freshman year of college, that was my first monetary gain doing acrobatics, and I was flipping, and people were seeing. I didn't even know people were seeing me because social media wasn't a thing back then. So people would tell me years later that I saw you flipping in 2000 whatever.
Isn't that weird how people used to live?
They saw me flipping at that at Six Flags. So then fast forward to 2004. 2004, I had an internship doing engineering at University of Houston in Houston, Texas. And while I was there, one of the premier guys of acrobatics in the NBA, which was the Houston Rockets mascot, which was a Black man. He was one of the pioneers for Black people in mascotting in the NBA, was looking to train people in Southern California. Yeah. So he was like, hey, I need some guys that already know how to flip. We're flipping at a theme park. We're dunking at a theme park and acrobatic slam dunking, Legoland theme park in San Diego. So I was like, look, I could be on the next flight out after this internship. My internship was only 2 to 3 weeks. He was like, man, just go back to Atlanta for the weekend. And after you come back to Atlanta, boom, fly out here. I flew out there. And I mean, my life has changed acrobatically ever since.
That's a blessing.
After that, we ended up starting our own business after college. We ended up getting contracts with the Atlanta Hawks, as well as several different NBA teams, whether the New York Knicks, Toronto Raptors, San Antonio Spurs, Denver Nuggets. I mean, Washington Wizards, Charlotte Hornets. The list literally keeps going on. And we've been able to network with the NBA domestically as well as internationally. Because most people don't.
You've been to Africa, flipping, and all kind of stuff, man. You're doing really well.
Yeah, most people don't even know that the NBA is across borders. Like you have NBA Mexico, you have NBA Brazil, you have NBA Africa, and they got the NBA in the United Kingdom. And now NBA Africa is kind of branching out, is doing its own thing. They have a subsidiary of the NBA. It's called Junior NBA, which is a high school basketball league in South Africa. Really? As well as they have what they just recently created called Ball, which is the Basketball African League. And what they're doing is they're pretty much cultivating the basketball talent in Africa, as well as, to be honest with you, they're trying to unify more countries. A lot of these different countries, they have ties to Europe. And with basketball, hopefully this basketball and soccer, they unify more into cultivating more alliances with those different countries, sharing their natural resources as well as with each other, as well as sharing talent with each other so they can build and grow.
That's amazing. It's so funny you mentioned South Africa. My buddy from South Africa was here, actually Nelson Mandela's grandson, and he told me about these paintings behind me, which are the native people. They were bush people from South Africa, and I had no idea who these. I just liked the paintings, and he told me exactly who they were. He's like, "Oh, you got these pictures up?" So it's amazing how the world connects each other. So it's so important. I'm proud of you with that. What's the importance of following your dreams? Because we talk about that all the time. We want to get to a certain level with our dreams because, of course, you have engineering. I have my radio show, but there are things that we want to really do in our life. What's the importance of just saying, "Hey, let me follow my."
When I say that's such a powerful question, when I was young, somebody told me, and I don't want to throw this individual on the bus, but somebody told me, only do one thing and do that one thing good. I knew as a young kid that didn't make any sense to me because I had so many things that I wanted to do with my life. Yep. So they kept saying to me, do that one thing good. And I was like, no, I have to prove them wrong because I want to do so many more things. Like I said before, I never thought I would make money off of acrobatics and gymnastics. I literally just love to do it. Now both are just as monetary efficient or lucrative as the engineering. And even with that, now, I mean, I'm a SAG performer. I've been on TV shows. I've been on in movies, and I never thought that would happen. And that only happened because I took a leap of faith. And I kept going. It was even people, to be honest with you, even when I was in college, people who were making jokes. I was getting clowned like, wait, you still flipping? Why are you still flipping? I can't believe you're still flipping. And I was like, I don't know what to tell you. I didn't even know what to make.
Checks at the bank is what you're doing. Right.
But like I said, I literally just love to do it. And even with my my nonprofit, my 501c3, as much as I love doing it, I love seeing other individuals, the younger generation, the next generation get it and then take it to the next level. The things they are doing right now, we weren't even thinking that you were fathomable when I was a kid because the social media wasn't as big. And now this younger generation, I mean, they're taking it to another level, so much so that they're having tumbling leagues. I'm actually judging a tumbling league competition later on today. So y'all follow T3 Tumbling on Instagram too. I know I'm plugging everything, but follow it. The young generation taking over. So.
Listen, I want to. Somebody's knocking on the walls next door. What is? I just got sidetracked. Lord have mercy. But that's powerful. Follow your dreams, make it happen, and that's so important. You guys to just say, hey, you know what? I'm like you said, take a leap of faith and let me just make this happen. Tell us about Hybrid Humans again. It's hybrid.
Hybrid Humans,
and they can find you on Instagram on Hybrid Humans, right?
You can find me on Instagram, Hybrid Humans, INC. And pretty much, like I said, what we're doing is we're just training kids in tumbling. And we actually have a network where we're working with other tumbling groups and other gymnastics groups. So some groups in Atlanta, they're strictly towards power tumbling. Some are cheerleading. Some are, of course, gymnastics all around. Only girls programs, only boys programs. So I'm all about how is this kid or this young individual, what they want to do and where they need to go in order to cultivate their talent to the best of their abilities. and where they're going to learn and grow at.
I think that's awesome, and we're running short on time. But I want to jump into conspiracy theories right quick.
Let's get it.
Are these aliens real, and are you an alien, Phil?
So first off, let's get to that definition. A conspiracy theorist label is only a dismissive way of labeling a critical thinker. That term was actually developed literally in the late 80s, the 1990s, because more individuals had came out or talking about these different phenomenons they had experienced, or talking about these different phenomenons that other people around them had experienced. So that's number one. Number two.
See how he's so smart? He broke it down for us already.
let's get into, we got to get into the etymology of words. Yeah. So terra, the original term for Earth is terra. So when somebody says an extraterrestrial, that means an individual that's not from Earth. That means that they're from another location. When somebody says interterrestrial being, that means an individual that lives in the interior of the Earth. So do extraterrestrials exist? Do aliens exist? Yes. Do interterrestrials exist? Beings that live in the interior of the Earth? Yes.
What's the interior of Earth?
The interior of the Earth is compartmentalized. It's different areas, caverns all over the Earth where different entities actually live. And to get more into detail, humans were genetically designed 200,000 years ago. The oldest fossil that scientists have ever found was in Africa. It was a feminine entity of a humanoid, melanin individual, which was 200,000 years ago.
Right.
Anglo-Saxons or Caucasians or white.
Was that Lucy? I'm sorry. Was that Lucy?
They call her Lucy. I don't like calling her that name because that wasn't.
It's not black. We're gonna call her Shakita.
Right. That's fine. if that's what you want to do, that's fine. So the individual that was the oldest origin of people with high concentration of melanin. So, the term melanin is kind of interchangeable too, because a lot of individuals feel like black people are the only ones with melanin. No, white people have melanin too. They just have a lower concentration of melanin. We have a higher concentration of melanin, which protects us from the sun. The earliest origins of Asians were derived around 20,000 years ago. There are several different works of literature and scripture that point towards these two different time intervals that I just told you about. Whether it's the Emerald Tablets, and the Emerald Tablets are ancient texts that predate the Bible by 20,000 years, and those Emerald Tablets were found in ancient Kemet, or what we know as present day Egypt. And the person that has decoded those, that has a book on them, is called Billy Carson. He has a book called, and I challenge everybody to actually, everything that I'm saying, I challenge everybody to research everything I'm stating, as well as do spiritual intuition. Ask God, is this right? Ask your spiritual guides, is this correct or not? But the book is called The Compendium of the Emerald Tablets, and it pretty much decodes these different time intervals, as well as a gentleman by the name of Malachi York. Malachi York had a book too called The Holy Tablets that he put out. I want to say it was in the 1980s. And that book describes the different genetics of individuals that are on this planet and when they were created and what the time intervals for that were. Anglo-Saxons have only been around, the earliest history that we can find for them has only been 6,000 years.
Right. They don't know how to function sometimes.
Right. So with genetic evolution, there's no way that we could have genetically evolved to these different types of races within 200,000 years. It would have took millions of years for us to look the way we look with this genetic evolution, unless somebody was genetically engineering different humans on the earth. And this goes back into the Bible. In the Bible, it says when Adam was created, Adam was seated. He was taken from the earth. He was seated from the earth. So
listen, we talk about it. We say Jesus is an extraterrestrial because he's going to come back on a cloud one day. That's a whole nother conversation, right? He's not of this earth. He's not of this world. And so,
well, I mean, the story goes that we don't know who Jesus or Yahshua ben Joseph's father was.
Yeah.
And his biological father was his stepdad, and much props to him, Joseph, because most of us would not have done what Joseph did. But he stepped in and he took liberty of being the human father for Jesus.
Jesus.
The story goes, and this is in the tablets, that Mary was missing before she was found pregnant for days. Like, she was missing. And that could have, with all the human trafficking and everything going on in the world now, somebody could say, oh, somebody from a neighboring area could have kidnapped her when she was 13 or whatever. Mm-hmm. But no, she was literally missing. Nobody could find her anywhere. And then she came back and she was found. So according to the scriptures, Jesus' mother Mary was taken for a couple days, and at that moment, then she was artificially inseminated by extraterrestrial.
I missed that part where she was missing. I got to look that up because I don't remember. I don't see that part. But anyway, you can look up what he's saying. We're gonna get into a whole nother conversation. So he's saying right now, yes, they are. It's some above, it's some below, it's some in New York City. Yes. I think they all in Harlem. All the aliens live in Harlem. It's a whole other conversation for another day. Listen, what are your final thoughts, Phil? My final thoughts for the audience.
I really want to say my ending thoughts for the audience are: be involved in your community. Everything I just stated today is really about being in the knowing. A lot of people, we want to be ignorant to things that are right in front of our face because we feel like they won't affect us. Things are going to affect you whether you choose to believe in them or not. So whether it's being knowledgeable of bills that are being passed on C-SPAN all the time, whether it's being knowledgeable of the Congress meetings, the Senate meetings that they're having about the trajectory of your nation, be aware, be involved in the community, because some things you're just not going to be able to control on the exterior, but you can control on the ground level. Anytime you're building a building, you don't build a building by the roof. You build a building by the foundation. Start at the foundation and build up.
Thank you, Phil. What a great interview, brother. Thank you so much. Phil, number 2, everybody. Let's give it up.
Number one.
Hold tight for me in the green room, okay?
All
right. Phil gave us some great tools and tips. Listen, step out on faith, follow your dreams, follow your goals, put some kids in some engineering programs, right? I'm Phil. You're watching Phil and Friends right here on WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.